So we're going to take notes on section 3 of chapter 3, which is properties of addition and multiplication. So you should have your notebook out next to you. You should only be doing this lecture. You shouldn't be trying to watch TV or do something else at the same time. So if it helps, you can put your headphones on. We're going to write down the title in your notebook, 3.3, Properties of Addition and Multiplication. If I go too fast, you can pause the video. If you need to hear something again, you can rewind the video, and if you need to take a break, you can take a break and just resume later. You should see text box along as we go so that you can input answers so that I can look at your answers before we start class to see what we need to practice more of. So for right now, you should just have 3.3, Properties of Addition and Multiplication. So with properties of multiplication and addition, we have something called equivalent expressions. So again, write this down in your notebook. If you need to pause the video, I would pause the video right now. Write everything down, and then you can listen as you look in your notebook to make sure you have everything. So pause the video, write all this down. Once you have finished writing that down, hit play and listen to what I have to say. So equivalent expressions are expressions with the same value, such as 14 plus 9 plus 16 and 14 plus 16 plus 9. They are equivalent. They're not equal because they're not in the same order, but if I add them up, I get the same answer. This is called the commutative property, so of addition, it should say. So you might need to add that to your notes. So the changing the order does not change the sum or the product. So this is a commutative property of addition and multiplication because remember the product is multiplication. So make sure you have that written in your notes so that you understand what the commutative property, because we're going to have a quiz and you're going to have to be able to identify the different properties that we're using to solve our math equations. So again, write this down. So here shows us a commutative property of addition and commutative property of multiplication. So pause the video, write all this down, and then resume, and you can listen as you look over your notes. So the commutative property of addition says it doesn't matter if I add A plus B or B plus A, I'm going to get the same answer. For example, if I have 3 plus 2, that is the same as 2 plus 3. They both equal 5. Sometimes, though, we just need to rearrange the order that we see our addition so that we can do the math easier. Multiplication is the same, so I can use my same numbers. 3 times 2 is the same as 2 times 3. They both are 6. Their order doesn't matter, but we might need to rearrange things to make the math easier. So now we have another property that will help us make the math easier. So again, pause the video, write this down, and then hit resume or play when you're ready to listen. So associative property says changing the groupings of adding or factors does not change the sum or the product. So this just means if I'm adding or if I'm multiplying, it does not change the sum or the product of associative property. It's always good to have an example to show this. So again, pause the video, copy this down, and then listen when you're ready. So hit play when you're ready. So here we have the associative property of addition. So it doesn't matter if I have A plus B. So associations are my parentheses. So that's kind of what I'm associating, putting together, is the same as B plus C. I'm going to get the same answer, but it might just be easier for me to do the math if I change the order. And we're going to have some examples to show that. So just for now, write this down, and then we'll have examples later. So multiplication, I can do the same thing. I can change the way I associate things or have parentheses. So here I have A all by itself, and I've associated B and C. But here I'm going to associate A and B, and have C all by itself, just to make the math easier. And again, I'm going to give you some examples. So just go ahead and listen to this. Do not write it down. I'll give you some practice ones in a minute. Or if you want to write it down, pause the video as you go so you have a chance to write everything down. So example 1, using properties to write equivalent expressions. So I have my example here. You should see a different one in your textbook. So if you want to see the same idea using different numbers, you could look in your textbook, but I got the same numbers, so we're going to pause.